So next up we have educator and artist Kevan Thompson. So former head teacher, now artist. Kevan is going to share. He's going to share an animation today that he's entitled "To Change, I Had to Leave," and it's kind of documenting really a really very personal story of his experience inside and outside of academia, really childhood and how he's come to today. I'll warn you, just in case Kevan forgets to warn you, that the animation is silent. So it's not the sound going wrong, it is a silent animation. But then obviously at the end, Kevan will be there to, you know, have a conversation or take questions, etc. So I think, Kevan, you can screen share your film now.
Right, well, I'll do a short introduction before. Yeah, first of all, well, thanks, Joe, for the introduction. Can I just say as well, thank you to the organisers for putting together such a great conference and giving me the opportunity to share my story in this safe space. It's a great privilege. Also, watching all the other speakers throughout day 1 and day 2, I think I've got a very bad case of imposter syndrome. But anyway, I'm going to share with you my story because this is my story. It's sometimes painful. I don't believe it's unique, but it's my story. And it's perhaps a reflection of the cultural attitudes of growing up in the 70s. But it's my story. And to change, I had to leave, to break the cycle of abuse, attitudes and perceptions. But it's my story, and it's never been told before. Much of it I hid from family and friends. And it was only recently, when working towards my MA in Fine Art on a piece of work about my brother who died suddenly at the age of 25, that the dark memories resurfaced. Now, my family is safe and my children have grown into very strong individuals. I can now share it with others so that they can sometimes see that the only way to change is to leave. My heritage is one where education has always been valued, but having aspirations beyond the traditional routes of employment was always regarded as little more than a pipe dream and only for the well-off folk. My grandfather would say, books can't tell you all you need to ken, you know. Well, I would be the first person in the history of my family, in perhaps over 300 years, to follow an academic route. I would face prejudice, marginalisation, barriers at key moments, leading me to the realisation that to change I had to leave. I'm going to share with you shortly a silent movie, some 8 minutes long, using drawings and images to highlight some of the barriers and the prejudice I faced. The silence adds to the sometimes violent and bleakness of those experiences encountered. And just to warn you that some of the images and phrases may be upsetting to other people, but this is my story. If you just bear with me while I share the screen now. Yeah, thank you for watching.
Okay. Gosh, you know, I've watched it a few times now, but it's still so powerful. Well, look, not so many questions, but I just want to read out to you some of the words that are that have been coming. I can see them all flooding through now, going through the chat. Okay, so incredible, blown away, powerful, amazing, beautiful. Lisa Mackenzie said beautiful, healing and familiar. Somebody interestingly said shows the links between class and gender. And another comment was about it being cathartic, and that's actually something we did talk about, didn't we? I asked about that. So, I mean, I've got a bit of a question that's just formed for me, Kevin, if you don't mind me asking. What impact do you think? Oh no, how can I form that? What impact? Yeah, that was it. It's about the stories, right? So you'd said about, you know, your story hadn't been shared, not even with some very close people. So what impact does it have if our own stories are not shared, if they're hidden, on our trajectory through academia? You know, your whole history through academia, if your stories aren't shared, you know, your experiences aren't seen, what impact do you think that has?
What impact? Oh. Well, I said at the very beginning, I think I've got a bad case of imposter syndrome. I was always frightened about being discovered. And that was always in the background, that it was hidden away and it was never shared. And there were perhaps times when, particularly when I was teaching, that I was accused by some of the parents of not understanding and not knowing what they were going through when things were a bit difficult, as I was trying to help them. It sort of almost made me lead a double life, if you like. The impact, it helped me to recognise and try to help young people who were probably going through something similar. It helped me recognise and certainly support a number of colleagues who went through something very similar with their own marriages, and I managed to help them to escape cycle of abuse. So it certainly helped that side of things. It did also have an impact in terms of it made me, on a number of occasions, feel quite inferior. I felt I wasn't good enough, and I was forever trying to prove, not to others, but to myself, that I could do this, and hence the imposter syndrome. I was terrified about being found out, so I used to leap in and try and hide things behind a facade. I've in the past as well been very involved in drama and theatre, and that's been a very good way of being able to hide it. So yeah, I don't know whether I've answered that, but
no, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you. You end on a really moving slide, which obviously shows your three daughters, and I know one of your daughters has come home to be with you and see this today. Is that are your daughters are the thing you're most proud of, or have you got other things that you want to talk about?
Oh,
pride.
I mean, sorry, yeah. I mean, it would be very easy for me to say the thing I'm most proud of is my own success. Yeah, I'm pleased with what I've done. I'm pleased, I'm proud that I've been able to achieve the level of academic attainment that I have. But I think my proudest thing has been breaking the cycle, and for our children, for our daughters, supporting them in no matter what they do, that no matter what they've chosen, that we will support them.
Okay. All right. Oh, now, was that Anne, your wife, or was that your daughter popping in at the side?
It was Penny, my wife.
Oh, Penny. Yeah. Hi, Penny. Hi. Okay, you know, some people have said, you know, brave to share a story in this way. So and obviously that's showing today. Okay, right. I think we've got a question has popped up. Okay, so this is from Neil Carey. What spaces, if any, are there for these stories, or such? It says for our stories in the fast-paced neoliberal education complex. So what spaces are there for these or such stories, our stories? I don't think you can see that, chat.
Yeah. What places are there?
Yeah.
There's not enough places in order to express them, I think. I think people are still hiding them away, and it needs to be said, because these stories do exist. I said at the beginning, my story is not unique. I don't believe it is. I think there's more people out there experiencing very similar things to what I went through, and we're not being given the forum to express that, to share that, or if we do, or when we do, it's almost being seen as a therapy. They're doing that because they need a therapy. We're not doing it because we need a therapy. We're doing it to show people that we do need to be aware of. There are so many things going on in the background, and that people need to be aware of it. And the more people that become aware of it, the more chance we've got of breaking the cycle, so that these stories are not normalised, but people begin to understand that that I'm losing my way here now, but there needs to play a place in which people recognise and see them, and they're not hidden under the carpet. That things like these stories occur, but they don't just occur within working class, they occur across the board. They're not unique to a class, they occur everywhere. And people need to be understanding and aware of that. And they also need to be aware of how that impacts on us as individuals. I mean, I'm sharing my story now. I don't mind telling you, I'm 61 years old, and it's been hidden for 55 years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, so, and no one would listen. And in the early stages, no one would listen. There was no help available, no one there to help my mum, no one there to help me. The school, I believe, I went to was aware, but they just sidelined it. There was no sort of forum for that to be discussed. There was nothing like child safeguarding, child protection in place. It was a case of, it happened, okay, we know about it, and that's it. Where I think it's now got to be out there, and people really have got to understand that it lives with people for life, and it can have a devastating effect on them, and it can make them into not false people but two people. As I said, I went through hiding mine and being terrified I would ever be found out. I'm not frightened of it anymore, but it's taken that time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to read out a comment I've just spotted. It's in the chat, so it's a comment, not a question really, from Graham saying, respect, powerful reminder that education is more than academic endeavour. It is involved in social, social and emotional learning and experiences. So I just want to read that out to you. I can't see there's any more that we should do. Lou's saying, no one would listen. Yeah, we can listen to each other. That's solidarity work of the highest kind. Kevin, we are listening. Look, I mean, you'll take the time after this to look through the chat, and there's
lots of
response, and it's more about that. I think what you've got is lots of response rather than necessarily questions. But if you can, take a look, and I think you'll probably find that quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say at the end here before we move on to?
I think well, just a few things. I mean, going back to the idea, what am I most proud of? I didn't say it very well, and I wanted to say it clearly. Okay. Perhaps most proud of our three girls, knowing that they have been able to make their choices, and we've supported them no matter what they've chosen to do. And that has probably been the proudest thing that we've done. Yeah, and also that I mean, one of my daughters, one of their friends was experiencing problems, and we offered some support on that as well. So it's just saying that side really, that we're proud that we've been able to break the cycle, and that our daughters are very strong, very much their own individuals, and that part of it is I'm not ashamed of where I've come from. I'm very proud of where I've come from. I'm very proud of my my heritage, my roots. I do a lot of family history research, and when I said that I was the first person in over 300 years to go or have the opportunity to follow an academic route, that's how far I've managed to get back and trace my family. The sort of basically sort of a history of farmers and fishermen and eventually mine workers. I don't dislike mine workers. I've got greatest admiration for them. I think they're very brave people to do what they do. I would never, ever be able to do what they have done and go down a hole into the ground. That is just something which is beyond my comprehension. So yeah, and just finally, just to once again thank my family, thank my big sister-in-law for reading the abstract I submitted and making some comment on it, which gave me the encouragement to continue to go ahead. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the whole conference, really, for sharing that. I mean, beautiful animation work, really powerful story, and for being brave, bearing your soul really today. On a lighter note, most impressed you have a daughter who's a weightlifter.
Yeah.
Most impressed. Okay, well look, I'll take you off spotlight now.
Okay, thank you.
You can go and look at the comments. Okay.
Right, thank you.